Welcome to the Rural Missions Podcast. We exist to enable rural churches in God's mission. So join us now as we hear stories of hope from across the UK. So welcome back to the Rural Missions Podcast. I'm your host, Bob Goody, and today I am joined by the Missional Networks Lead for Rural Missions, Mr. Stephi Scott.
Hello, thank you for
Steffi.
having me on here.
So, Steffi, why don't you start off by giving us a bit of an introduction? Who are you? Where are you from? All those good things.
Yeah, so as Bob said, my name is Steffi and I live in the Cotswolds, so in the top of the southwest. It's beautiful around here. I live fairly rurally and I'm married to my wonderful wife Abby, and we have two small children, Thea and Ivy, just about to turn 4, maybe 4 by the time you hear this. And yeah, we love it here. We love living rurally. And yeah, I've been with Rural Missions now for about a year, serving as the Missional Network Lead. And I'm sure we'll dive into what that means and what that might look like for you.
We certainly will do. You are exactly right. That's the point of today's podcast, to get to know you, find out more about what the networks are, etc. But Steffi, you just answered my first question, or you started to get towards it. You are a year into post. This is September 2025 that we're recording this. So tell me, how have you found your first 12 months here at Rural Missions?
So I found it's been exciting at times. It's been a lot to learn at times. So I come from traditionally probably a more non-denominational background. I'm now in a Baptist church, but obviously working with rural churches and working across the church spectrum means that, you know, we are talking and journeying with people from all different kinds of denominations. And I have to admit, my knowledge of the Church of England and Anglican circles when I came into the role was fairly limited. So it's a bit of a learning curve to start with on, you know, how do other churches operate, or what vision and values do other Christians have despite my own? And that's been, you know, a lot to learn, but also really fun and exciting to see how Scripture and Jesus affects people, and the values they take from that has been really encouraging to see.
So you said that you've learned a lot. I would agree with you. I think it's been a whole journey for all of us, especially as Rural Missions has repositioned itself and sought to get out there more often. So when you first stepped into this role a year ago, what were the kind of things that you were expecting to have done or hoping from the role, and what surprised you the most across the last year?
So I'll be really honest, I don't know what I was expecting when I started at Rural Missions. The vision was broad and exciting, the vision. So the vision that I came in initially was just to be able to bring Christians together from, you know, different backgrounds, different churches, different thoughts and values around a shared vision of that we're called as disciples of Jesus to take the love of Jesus into our communities and to share the good news, the gospel with people. So that underpins, I guess, the heart of Rural Missions as a whole, but specifically my role as Missional Network Lead is to bring Christians and followers of Jesus together to journey with each other, to explore mission, and to generally be a community of people who are striving for the same thing, and that's to see lives changed by the love of Jesus. And I like to think that's what motivates most of my decisions in life, is how can I share the love of Jesus with the people I encounter. And I hope to bring that to my role, and that's a big part of it, I think. And I'm not sure what else you want to know about that, Bob.
So is there anything that's particularly surprised you as you've stepped into the role, either how Rural Missions operates or how rural communities are? But obviously you're from that background, so I can't imagine it surprised you that much.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was surprised, but something that I think I've grown to recognize more and more is that despite how small you might feel as a church or a community of Jesus followers, is that God has already blessed you with the things you need to do mission, or the things you need to do to to be a positive force in your local community. And I'm blessed enough to go to a church which has lots of resources and lots of nice things. They've got a budget and they've got a building and all these facilities. So I think it's easy for someone in my position to kind of think that we don't need those things. And I really, in journeying with people, talking to people and hearing their heart over the last year, and people who aren't as fortunate to maybe have all the facilities that my personal church has, to actually see that God can still use those people. And we don't need all of the fancy buildings and the tech stuff and the big teams of people, but actually it's about having a heart for the gospel and a heart for the people of your community. And if you are humble and obedient to God's leading, he will use you and can use you to do incredible things. So not surprising, because I think maybe theologically I knew that already, but to actually see how just helping people journey and seeing what God has given them and the needs of their community, how God can actually use them, has been really powerful and encouraging to me.
No, that's great. That's great. So you've alluded to this idea that you're the networks lead, that it's about bringing people together. Could you explain more about what that means in reality?
Yeah, absolutely. So a big issue that we at Rural Missions and wider than Rural Missions have noticed is that rural ministry can feel really isolating. It's lonely. Often you can feel like you're the only one out there. You're the only church or the only Christian out there who is trying to be missional, trying to share the love of Jesus in your community. And that's a problem, and it's hard work. Any kind of ministry we recognize has challenges and it's difficult. And there's lots of challenges which come with that, burnout and so on. So the vision of the Rural Missions Network is to try and solve some of those issues. And we're not coming in with all the answers, but it's to create small networks of people in regional areas to share that burden together. So it's not so isolating, it's not so lonely, and to bring them together to wrestle with questions around mission, to celebrate what's going well. What things have you tried in your community and were they successful? Let's share them with each other so we can help the next church also step into those things. But also then, what challenges are you facing? And to do that together is really important, because someone from another church, a different church leader or another Christian in your local area might have tried that and realized this is where I went wrong and this was the solution we used. And actually that can then help you take steps forward. And I think it's important. A big part of our heart is to make these regional and to keep those regions fairly small, because each rural town, each rural village has its own culture. We're all broadly British culture, yes, but each town has its own quirks and weird personality to it. And me as an outsider to your town, I can't come in with all the answers because I don't know the cultural norms of your town or the way people think or want to behave or what values you have as a community. But you as a person located in that place, who better to speak to that? So we want to keep these regional groups, regional, and help you journey through mission together and explore it together. And you guys in those local places know those places better than anybody else. So who better to really unpack, what's going well, what's not going well, where is God leading, where is God moving in your community? And more broadly than that, we also have an online missions network. So it's a similar idea of, talking and sharing about the successes and the trials of mission work in your community, but it's national. So anyone across the country can join that. And a little plug, it's the first Tuesday of every month. You can email us for the link to the online meeting, but it's at 10:30 on the first Tuesday of every month. And we would love to see you there.
That's great. So obviously you're saying if you're thinking about mission, does that mean that it's just the evangelists that are going to come to these meetings, or it's just the church leader or those in positions of power and authority? Or is this a network that's open to anyone, that my mission is that I talk to my neighbours and drink coffee with them, and I'm more intentional in those small things, or is it just open to those that are dreaming bigger?
A short answer, it's open to everybody. So
Great.
no matter where you are on that journey, you could be a real seasoned, classic evangelist out there handing out your tracts, preaching, standing on your box with your megaphone, preaching the gospel. We'd love to have you join our a network or a regional hub or an online network, and to share your wisdom and the things you've learned from that. But equally, we also want the people who maybe never thought about what mission could mean. And actually, I think it's a broader conversation, because something I have discovered over the last year is the way a lot of people think about mission. I wouldn't necessarily always think is the healthiest way of thinking about mission. Bob's got a little smile on his face. I think he's wondering what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'm hoping you're going to unpack that. I'm intrigued.
Let's unpack it. So when we say mission, I think classically a lot of us think of either the person stood with their megaphone on the box or their sandwich board on saying repent or you're going to hell, or we think of sending people to the third world, or sending them off to some far off country somewhere to go and do mission work. And all of those things are good and they have their place. But I think if we reduce the word mission down to just those two things, then we are really limiting the way God is going to build his kingdom. And I think mission ultimately is anything that we do that is bringing hope, bringing peace, bringing joy, and sharing, the good news, the gospel of Jesus and how he can change our lives. So that could be through preaching the gospel with your words, but also it could be through acts of service. Is there a need in your community that you could meet as a church or as an individual that you could meet? Because the gospel is more than just about the forgiveness of our sins. It is the forgiveness of our sins, so amen to that. We celebrate that and praise God that he has forgiven us. But the gospel also is about breaking chains of addiction. It's about bringing peace and joy and freedom to people. And we can do that with our words, yes, but also through actual practical, real physical things. And that's a big part of our heart here at Royal Missions. It's helping you think outside of the box, thinking outside of those classic kind of ideas of mission, and seeing what God has given you and how you could use that to serve your local community in a more meaningful way.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we're not all called to be missionaries in the grander sense of the word that people have used and implied for going overseas or into spaces, but actually we're all called to be missional. We're all called to go and share the gospel. Jesus' great commission was to all people to go and make disciples. So actually there is an important part for each of us to play, and not just those that we deem to be in leadership or missionary roles.
Absolutely. And I don't want to play down the overseas missionary thing, because actually scripture's quite clear, go to the ends of the earth with the gospel. So actually, if you are feeling called to go overseas, we want to celebrate that with you and pray with you for that as well, because that has its place. But we don't want that to be exclusive. The only thing mission is, actually, as Bob just said, we're all called to go and make disciples. And it's a really fun journey on an individual level, and as a community of believers in churches or however you choose to meet, to explore how God is calling you to do that in your local context and where God's placed you right now.
Yeah. And interestingly, England is one of the places where most missionaries come to. We're one of the most mission countries in the world. And I think the stats show there are more missionaries come to reach England than England sends out to be missionaries in other countries. So we have an idea that we, as a country, as a Christian country, whatever, we send missionaries to Africa and that sort of thing. Yeah, but Bob's right. I read a study a couple of weeks ago now saying that Christians in Nigeria send more missionaries to England than England sends to the whole of Africa. Yeah. So just Nigerian missionaries, more of them are here than any English missionary is in the whole of Africa. Yeah. So we are a mission field. Yeah. Your neighbours, your schools, your workplaces, all of those are a mission field. And actually, I might argue, are full of unreached people. Yeah. People who don't know a thing about the gospel, who maybe have heard about Jesus or the nativity in school, but beyond that, have zero understanding. Yeah. So it's ripe. The harvest is plentiful. That's it. So the rural missions networks, the online hubs and the in-person regional hubs, therefore missionaries and anyone engaged in mission in whatever form that looks like, to gather, to be supported, to be encouraged, and to hold each other to account as well. Like I know that on your online hubs, Steffi, you've got people that you can share the stories of what happened last time and check in with each other on the next time. I think that's what a beautiful way to support one another.
Absolutely. It's about building, our heart is to build those relationships with each other to the point where we can be accountable. I can say, hey, Bob, you said last time you were going to do X, Y, or Z. We're in England, so Z. And how did that go? And then actually, when you say I didn't manage to do it, I can ask the question, hopefully, because we built a relationship, and not with any condemnation, but hey, how come? What went wrong? How can we support you in that? How can we help you take that step over the next coming weeks? Yeah. So it's really exciting to see how people are, sometimes it's small steps at a time, but it's always exciting and a privilege and an honor to be invited into somebody's journey, into them discovering what God is calling them to.
Yeah. So I know I get to obviously peek behind the curtain on rural missions, because obviously I lead the charity, so hopefully you would think that I know what's going on with us. I know one of the biggest challenges you've faced with establishing these networks, because your role is a pioneering role. We'd never run these networks. We'd never contemplated hubs as rural missions. So your last year has been going, what do they look like? How do they shape up? How do they function? And how do we now get them running? And one of your biggest challenges is we want to do regional hubs, but we need a bit of a quorum of people to be able to make these function. Would you say that's been your biggest challenge? How might people be able to help us in that challenge, Steph?
So yeah, I would say that has been the biggest challenge. A big part of why we think these hubs are important is we don't want ministers, pastors, ordinary Christians to do these things on their own. We want them to be a part of a community and a network. But then there's a bit of a contrast there between, hey, don't do this on your own, and if you are doing it on your own, then hey, come join our network. But at the same time, to form a network, we need connections and people. So these things don't really line up massively well. There's the problem we're trying to fix is also part of the problem, which maybe makes these a little bit harder to get going. So if people want to help us in forming these, then I guess the suggestion would be, hey, could you prayerfully consider, would a regional hub in your area be a good thing? And maybe you're not feeling isolated alone, and maybe you have some friends and connections from a variety of different backgrounds who you might be able to rope in and say, hey, can we try this thing out and this journey together? Let's set aside some specific time to talk mission. I know lots of people are in churches together, and if you're in the Church of England, you have your deanery synods and so on, so you are gathering together, but this is a time specifically to talk mission and to talk and journey together and how we can do that better or more effectively. So if you are feeling like, hey, that sounds really exciting and I would love to gather with other people, and you feel up for it and journeying with us in establishing some more of these regional hubs in your area, then we would love to hear from you, love to journey with you as best we can.
So if somebody wants to get involved, either helping us to establish a hub locally, wondering if there's already a hub, or getting involved in the online side of this, how might they get in touch with you? How might they find out more information about our networks?
So there's a few ways. You can go to rawmissions.org.uk/networks, I believe, or you can email me directly at Stephi, which is Stephi. I'm sure Bob will put it in the show notes for you. But Stephi at rawmissions.org.uk is my email, and I would love to pick up a conversation with you. So you can drop me an email. All the information is on our website as well. And we can, see where the conversation goes, and we can talk on the phone, arrange video calls, whatever works best for you. I can come visit you in person even. I love getting out and exploring other parts of the country. So, whatever works best for you, we would love for you to get in touch and see where things go, where God leads us.
Yeah. So as Steffi said, it is definitely ruralmissions.org.uk/networks. Don't put I believe at the end of it, because that won't get you to the right page.
Yeah. /network. But if you just type in rural missions on Google and then and click on our website and you see how we help churches, there's a whole networks page on there, which is nice and easy to find. Yeah. And it's got lots of information on there, some nice videos with my lovely face. If you want to see what I look like,
wow,
then because you've heard my voice, but if you want to see what I look like, there's some nice videos explaining the Rural Missions Networks on our website.
Yeah, so do head to our website, ruralmissions.org.uk/networks if you want the specific page already. But even if you just want to dip your toe, as Steffi said, the first Tuesday of every month we hold our online hub, which is pretty much the same as we would do in person, but you need to bring your own coffee and cake to that one if that's what you want to eat and munch whilst you chat and pray and encourage and support one another. So if you just want to dip your toe, then why not just book in and come to one of our online sessions coming up. I also know, Steffi, that next month we're also launching a new version of this network online. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, so we have a slightly more specific type of online network coming. So if you are involved in children, youth, family work of any kind, or you're exploring what that might look like for you or your ministry or your church, this is some exciting news dropping right now. We have a CYS, a Children, Youth and Family online network coming your way, which is going to be the first Thursday of every month online. In the afternoon.
That's it.
In the afternoon, first Thursday afternoon, time to be confirmed, I'm sure.
1:30 till 3.
Bob's giving me the details because he's opened up the website and looked. So 1:30 to 3 o'clock, the first Thursday of each month, and that's again a place to explore children, youth, and family ministry. So to look at what things work well, what are the challenges you might face, and again, it's about giving you a community of people who are potentially struggling with the same things or have already struggled with those things and overcome them and found successes in ways, and to really unlocking your full potential as a children, youth and family worker, minister, whatever that looks like for you, and to really grow in that calling God has given you. And that is going to be mainly facilitated by our specialist experts of children, youth and family, Becky and Rebecca, who work for the resource cupboard, who is also rural missions. I'm not sure exactly how we define that anymore, Bob.
So they work for rural missions, and it's our CYF department, which is called the resources cupboard.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great. So thank you for that, Steph. So a couple more questions, I think, because obviously we want to try and be good on these podcasts and not go over too long for people. Now, how would you say that this role has helped shape your own faith and passion for rural mission as you've spent this last year with us?
So I'll be honest, this role makes me awfully jealous of lots of people in a sense where, so I really believe the local church is where God really does his work, really transforms lives.
Amen,
and that's the heart of Rural Mission, is to support the local church. We're not here to come with all the answers and do the work. It's the local church who do that. So a big part of our job is encouraging people within local churches to do really fun, exciting missional things. And the jealousy part comes in there, where it's like, oh, that sounds like a really fun project or a really fun idea. I wish I was also doing that right now. So I really believe it's the local church, and that's where God's really at work, and that's exciting, and I want to be a part of that. So I try in my own life too. A big part that led me to this role at Rural Missions is that I have a heart for mission and evangelism and my local community, and also exploring how can I use that passion and excitement more full time and serve the church in a way. So such an honor and a privilege to be able to come and serve with any of you in any of your churches. We look at it as a privilege and an honor that you invite us into your space and to have a voice to journey with you. Yeah. So I want to say thank you to all of you who have invited us in, and to the rest of you who haven't invited us in yet, we would be more than happy to come, and we'd be delighted, and we want to thank you in advance for that invitation.
And we come at no cost. So always bring that in. No cost to you.
Bob
We just want to.
loves to
We want to love. We want to
remind
serve.
us
Yeah.
at no cost to you. So
Yeah.
we come in completely free, and we're not going to come in and force you to do anything. We have ideas because we've worked with lots of churches and people now, and it's our jobs to meditate and dwell on effective ways to do mission in your community, and we'll come with some suggestions. But ultimately, a big part of our process is to maybe help you think about mission in a different way. That it quite often it starts there, but then to explore what has God blessed you with, whether that's your financial resources, your buildings, the people, but also the interests and the talents and the things that excite you. They're all blessings that God has given you. And then to look at the needs in your community and then prayerfully, mission all starts with prayer, and then prayerfully discern how those blessings God's given you meet the needs of your community.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to come and force any ideas on you, but actually hopefully help you journey with God to figuring out where he's calling you to.
Yeah, exactly. Because we believe that mission is not a scary word. Mission is just bringing Jesus into our everyday, into our conversations, into our gifts, our talents, into how we serve our community, and actually just being able to share him as a natural part of who we are and how we do life. So again, head to ruralmissions.org.uk. We'd love to come and support you. Interestingly, I was talking about this, and I think I would agree with you, Steffi. I'm 18 months in at Rural Missions, and I would say my passion for the rural church has grown and grown. And even this morning, I was speaking to a friend of Rural Missions, Gary, who is a rural officer down in Chichester Diocese, and he's also the vicar of two churches down there, one in Penhurst and one at Ashburnham. And he was sharing with me that at Penhurst, one of his churches, their regular congregation every Sunday is around 22 people, which sounds great. I love it. I love churches of that size. But then he said, did you know that the village of Penhurst is only 35 people?
Wow.
And so you think, what's that, 60, 65%? And yes, some people do travel in, but a number of the congregation are in Penhurst. How many churches can say that 60 to 65% of their community are engaged in church? And the realistic thing is we want that to be a common place for every church across the country, rural, urban, suburban. But actually, the impact that we have as followers of Jesus in our communities, I think the rural is far better placed than any other communities to really see transformation and really make things happen. So I would agree with your passion. I think I'm there too.
And I think as we see more and more of the resources in rural communities being stripped away, whether that's things that the councils or the government are providing, we're seeing them disappear. We're seeing pubs close. We're seeing shops close. There's almost the heart of these rural communities is being taken away, and it feels like nobody cares anymore. Nobody cares whether this small sleepy village or this small town lives or dies. We're kind of forgotten, and that's the impression that lots of us can get when we live rurally. Yeah. And I think this then positions the church with such an incredible opportunity, because what is the church? It's made up of a group of people who are loved by Jesus and who love Jesus, and hopefully therefore love their community. So it's this unique organization of people who have a deep love and concern for their community, and hopefully that then leads you to be able to serve your community in amazing ways, to start filling those holes and the gaps that are starting to form from the erosion of the rural community. So you can then become a center of hope and peace and friendship and relationships and love in these communities where no one else is offering those things. Yeah. And that's the same whether you're urban or not, because actually I don't think, no matter what programs the council or the government or whoever puts in place, those things are great and they're amazing for a community. But obviously we believe the only thing that can truly fulfill and satisfy us is Jesus. And actually the only people who have that answer is followers of Jesus. So you are uniquely positioned and called to offer something to the people in your community that nobody else can. Yeah. Which is an incredible honor and a blessing, but also there's a responsibility to that too. Yeah, I would say.
Great. Well, thank you, Steffi. We're now on our final question. It's the one that we always end our podcast with, because we want to make this all about stories of hope. And I think we've got a lot of hope from what we've talked through anyway. The church is the hope for this nation. Jesus is the hope for the world. Like, we're in a strong place. But do you have one story of where you've seen God working recently that you could share with us?
Yes, I do. I'm going to be slightly vague on the details to maybe protect these people a little bit. But so quite a few members of my church, which is Cirencester the Baptist Church, we are a part of a project called Mangrove House. And this is a project where it's a group of Christians, but it's a supported living for members of the homeless community. So we've got a house and it's got 4 bedrooms in it. So, at its fullest, it's supporting 4 men from the homeless community in our local area. And we're unapologetically Christian, which is great. But we're not forcing that on anybody, but just to see the change. So to see these other Christians that I'm friends with and a part of this team unapologetically serve these people. So that's sometimes it's practical support, helping them write, CVs and job letters, and helping them learn to cook and all the practical things, but also then being a mentor spiritually to these people. And to see the growth in some of these men, and just how these simple acts, and they are really simple acts. I'm going to help you do your shopping. I'm going to help you learn to cook, help you write this email or whatever it is. And they're doing it for love and compassion towards these men that society often overlooks. But to see the impact and the change that gospel service is having on the lives of these men is just incredible. And it blows my mind. And to see how powerful the love of Jesus is when we step out in faith to do things, it's just blowing my mind. And I'm going to add something else in now. So that's a story from my local context. But recently at Rural Missions, I've been going through loads of the kind of, we'll call them case studies, but comments and reports from all the previous churches and events that we've run, and just reading the impact that just having these conversations with people is having, conversations around what mission means and what that could look like, and how it is inspiring people to step out and to try new things, and how much it's forming them, not just loving and serving their community, but how much it's starting to shape the people we're working with. It blows my mind. And it feels like an honor and a privilege to be invited into people's journey, and when they're discovering how amazing the gospel is and how much power it has to transform the lives of the people around them.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Stephi. Thank you for sharing all about your work, your heart, your passion, what your first year has looked like. I think that will hopefully inspire and potentially challenge some of us as we've been listening. So if you want to know more about our networks, as we said, you can head to ruralmissions.org.uk/networks. If you want to drop Stephi an email, it's stephi@ruralmissions.org.uk. Any version of Stephi will get to us. So no matter what you put at the front of an email, we'll get it, and I'll make sure it gets through to him. But Stephi is stephi. So thank you so much, Steph. Thank you for listening, everyone. Please ensure that you like this, that you've subscribed, so you continue to get these every fortnight in your podcast box of choice. And why not share this with somebody else? Because we'd love to encourage and support more communities and more individuals. So why not share this with someone who you think would appreciate our podcast? But thank you all for listening, and we'll speak to you again next time.
Bye.
To find out how we can support your church, head to ruralmissions.org.uk.